Hello, Class 4-1 Orange Group. Mr. Waterman here with today's Period 5 Language Arts lesson on Monday, January 24th, 2022. I hope you all have had a great day studying so far. For the Period 5 lesson, I'm going to read Schools Around the World to you in its entirety, meaning the whole story. Okay? Now, we have been reading this the last few weeks, but we have stopped after every few pages to have a discussion and to compare our school with the schools around the world that we've seen. Okay? As I mentioned in the previous video, I have uploaded the entire PDF for this story so you can print it off or you could read along, okay, as I'm reading the story to you. Okay? So here we go. Schools Around the World by Margaret C. Hall. Schools around the world. All around the world, children go to school. Some children spend most of their day at school. Others spend only a few hours there. Some school buildings in Asia are tall, like this one. So we talked about where this school could possibly be. Do you remember the country we thought this school could be in? How about the student here? What is he studying? Does it look familiar to you? These students in an American classroom start their day by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So remember how we talked about how many students in American classrooms, they stand and they salute their flag, much like you have to stand and salute the Korean flag during opening and closing ceremonies. Schools are different in different parts of the world, but they are all the same in one way. Schools are where children go to learn. It's true. No matter where you are in the world, a school is a place where children can learn. Look down here at this picture at the amazing school facts. A long time ago, a German man started a new kind of school. He thought that small children should grow like flowers in a garden. He called his school Kindergarten. The word means children's garden in German. Very interesting fact we talked about, remember? These students in Tibet, China, are about to start their morning classes. Look at that building. Does that really look like a school to you? School buildings. The kind of school buildings children have depends on where they live. It depends on the climate and the resources of their community. School buildings can be large or small. They can be made from many different materials. Some children even go to school outside or in buildings with no walls. Can you imagine going to schools like this that have no buildings or walls, completely outside? It looks warm, so it's okay now, right? Where do you think this is? Amazing school facts. Schools have been around for thousands of years. The first schools were started to teach children about their culture. Getting to school. Children travel to school in many different ways. The kind of transportation they use depends on where they live. It also depends on how far they have to go. Many children walk or ride bicycles to school. Others ride in cars, on buses, or on a train. Some children go to school by boat. Do you remember talking about that last week? Amazing school facts. In some places, children live too far away from their school to go there. Teachers give lessons over the radio or by using computers that are hooked up to the school. Does our school work sort of like this? So remember, we talked about our community. The Korean community is quite large. And our school is very special because many of you come to school together every day, because many of you live in the same building or the same neighborhood. You have a very close community. And how many of you get to school? Well, it determines what mode of transportation you will use. Many of you walk together. Many of you take the train together. School clothing. Children around the world wear different kinds of clothing to school. What they wear often depends on the climate where they live. It also depends on what season it is. In some schools, the students all dress alike. They wear uniforms. Students from different schools have different uniforms. Students at this girls' school in Panama wear blue skirts and sweaters as part of their uniforms. Do you remember we talked about our school's uniform? What do you like about our school's uniform? What don't you like about it? Here in this picture, these students in Germany are learning science on a class trip with their teachers. So last week we also talked about how exciting it would be to go outside for science classes sometimes, especially when we have warmer weather. What are these students going to catch? The school day. All around the world, teachers help students learn new things. Children do some schoolwork in groups. They do other schoolwork on their own. Most children eat lunch or a snack at school. They may also have time to play. At many schools, children take class trips too. Up here in this picture, this teacher answers a question for his student at a school in Cuba. Much like how Mr. Waterman answers your questions in class. Learning to read and write. One important job for teachers is to help children learn to read and write. Students learn to read and write in many different languages. The language children use at school depends on where they live. Some children study their own language and another language too. How many languages do you study at Tokyo Korean School? Which language do you think is the easiest for you to study? Look at this picture up here. What are they looking at? Let's find out. At an American school overseas, students study a map of Europe. Other lessons. Children learn many things at school. All around the world, they study math and science. They learn about their own country and other countries too. And there is the bell. I'm going to wait a second. Okay. Many children around the world study art and music in school. They may also learn how to use a computer. How about you, students? How many days a week do you study art at school? How many days a week do you study music at school? Do you sometimes use a computer at school? Look at this picture. These students in Great Britain practice playing music at school. What musical instruments can you play? Can you play musical instruments at school now because of COVID? Let's turn the page. Wow, look at this picture. In this school in Japan, students help serve lunch. School chores. Most children have chores to do at school. They help to keep the classroom neat and clean. They may even help to set up the classroom every day. In some places, children work to keep the schoolyard neat and clean. Some children may serve lunch to one another. What kind of chores do you have to do at school every day? Do you have to help keep the schoolyard neat and clean? Let's look at this picture. This teacher gives extra help to students after school. After school, some children go to school even after the school day is over. They may have a tutor to help them with the subjects that are harder for them. Some children have other lessons after school. They study things they cannot learn in school. They may learn about dance, music, or their own culture. Do you have any lessons after school at Tokyo Korean School? If you do, are these classes about Korean culture? Do you take music, or dance, or play a sport? What do you do? So as you can see, these boys in Israel are learning about their culture. Do you study after school like this with your friends? In this picture at the top, students at this boarding school eat, study, and live together. Oh my. Special schools. Some children live at their schools. These schools are called boarding schools. The children go home for visits and on holidays. This girl cannot see. She goes to a school where she can learn to read and write in a special way. People who are blind read with their fingers. They use a system of raised dots called Braille. It's very interesting. You can see her tracing her fingers down here. Homeschooling. A home can also be a school. Some parents teach their children at home. They want to decide exactly what their children will learn. People at schools will often help parents plan home lessons for their children. Many children who study at home go to a school for gym or art classes. So in America, PE is what we call gym. Look down here at this picture. This mother is teaching her daughter at home. This is a good example of what's going on right now because of COVID. I am sure many of your mothers and fathers are helping you to study at home, just like this picture. School and work. Some children work as performers. They spend part of their day practicing the work that they do. They spend the rest of their day studying regular school subjects. This girl is a dancer. What kind of dancer is she? In this picture, the students below perform a traditional Russian dance. Let's look at the amazing school facts over here. One of the subjects that was taught in ancient Greece was gymnastics. The ancient Greeks thought gymnastics was just as important to learn as math or reading. Do you agree? This boy is learning gymnastics. How many of you do gymnastics? Older students. Many people go to school even after they are adults. They may go to college, or they may go to a trade school to learn how to do a certain job. Adults also take classes for fun. They study different languages and learn how to do things. No matter how old students are, they go to school to learn. This is very true. Mr. Waterman went to school right here at Tokyo Korean School to learn Korean during Saturday school years ago. Mr. Waterman also took a flower arrangement class called Ikebana. No matter how old you are, you can always learn something new. Remember that. In this picture, these women in India go to school at night. What do you think they are studying? What do you think this man is studying? What is he using? And that's the end of the story. Okay. Well, students, I hope you enjoyed listening to me read the entire story. So what I would like you to do for the rest of the period is I want you to go back and I want you to read the story one more time on your own. As you're reading, I want you to pay attention to all of the pictures that you look at. And I want you to compare the pictures to things that happen in our school that are the same, or that might be different. Or pay attention to the things that you see the students doing. Maybe you do some of these things after school with your friends and your parents. Okay? That's it for today. Please read the story one more time. If you have any questions, please send Mr. Waterman an email. Okay? That's it for today. Enjoy the rest of the day studying. Stay safe and healthy, and I hope to see you all very soon. But until then, see you in tomorrow's video. Bye-bye for now.